The reason why I personally have a problem with brown or black people talking about unity amongst brown and black people is because it's literally impossible for a people, in this particular case, us, Mexican people, brown people, it is impossible for us to come together with black people because we are inherently and culturally racist. Our culture is very anti-black. And it's not our original and true culture. This is post-colonial culture. This is due to the Spaniard colonizers that implemented their caste system into our culture. And therefore, we have been seeing the world with the eyes of our colonizers. And meanwhile, we out here marching with signs that say brown and black unity. The truth is that in our household, we tell our sisters, we tell our daughters not to date y'all, to stay away from y'all. And if we find out, well, one of our aunties, one of our sisters, one of our daughters had a kid with one of you, we shame them. We even disown them. We want nothing to do with them. This is a very common thing to happen. So the reality is that we, as a people that have been anti-black for a couple of 100 years since colonialism, we can't possibly try to convince black people about brown and black unity. We can't. It's impossible because we're still very anti-black. How can we, as an anti-black people, convince you about brown and black unity when if you really think about it, it's just the truth and it's clear as day? How can we try to convince you about brown and black unity when the reality is just a surface? It's a surface thing. Meaning, can we convince you to join us in helping us systemically somehow? That's what brown and black unity has always meant between us. As long as we do not confront the anti-blackness in our Mexican culture, we will never be able to have any sort of coalition. Not a true one. It's always going to be surfacey, and it's always going to be about using one another. As long as there is internalized racism, colorism comes into play, and anti-blackness comes into play. And ironically, I do these videos and I always talk and address the anti-blackness in our culture. And most of the people that have a problem with the things that I talk about regarding the subject matter are Mexican people. Bro, why are you making us look bad? You see, I'm making us look bad because I'm forcing us to confront the anti-blackness. But then you are a hypocrite going out there and trying to convince black people about coming together with us. You cannot come together with the people that you are anti. You can't. And I actually had a guest come up here one time and started crying here. It was a black dude. He had a child with a Salvadorian woman. He came up here and said, "Hey, Ricardo, I had a child with a Salvadorian." And I'm trying to figure out, like, no matter how nice I am, no matter how respectful, like, I'm always trying to be, like, very offering to the family. They just don't like me. Like, you as a Latino, what do you think I'm doing wrong? And what can I do to fix this? And I said, you could do nothing. What are you doing wrong? You're black.
I'm gonna stop it right there. Perfect place to stop. Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones, and we're here breaking down the video from the Ricardo Ignacio YouTube channel. And the brother is also on TikTok. The video is originally on TikTok, on Ricardo Ignacio on TikTok, then his YouTube channel. But his channel is filled with a lot of conversations that he have with various people about issues around race and racism that affect both the black and brown community. And in my opinion, he has a lot of good and healthy conversations with a lot of his guests. I think he has a good grasp on what's going on. I'm not sure about a lot of the guests, but this particular conversation stood out to me because the Mexican guy is schooling the black guy on why the black and brown unity, as he said, is impossible. And I'm glad that he's phrasing things the way he is, because we have a lot of people in our community who push, especially the United 2%ers, who push for this unity, this black and brown unity, or this coalition, especially the BIPOC coalition people, right? They push for this idea of unity, or they push for this unity that we should have, and we should unite because we're all people who have experienced hardship and racism and colonialism, and we've all been oppressed. And so we should unite because we're all oppressed people. but we're not dealing with, well, why the hell haven't we all united already? What has been keeping us back, right? But then this year, and even in past years, but even more this year, we're starting to see, especially with the immigration thing, how the truth about the black and brown unity is coming about. As Ricardo said, it's not real. It's not real. You may be a black person who have grown up in an environment where you had a healthy Hispanic population and you got along with them and they got along with you, but they don't represent the whole of the community. And as he's talking about the inherent racism or the culture of racism that exists within these brown communities that isn't addressed within the community, that holds back true unity. Love, children, and family aren't cures to racism, because if they were, it'll be over by now, right? But we all know those different things, ideas of love, or the emotions of love, having children with somebody of another race, or even marrying into the family. Just giving an example about somebody having a baby with an El Salvadorian, black guy having a baby with an El Salvadorian, and they don't want no black people in their family. Like, we know that this is something that is said within the Hispanic and Latino communities. They not black and they don't want no blackness. They don't want to darken up the lineage and stuff. And these are the people. And I'm glad he's hitting the angle that he's hitting, because this is what we want to unite with. And it just leads me back to black people. We just don't damn get it. And we're always trying to be friends with people who haven't showed us en masse that they can actually be our friends. So Pat, you had a head twist at a moment when the brother Ricardo was talking. Tell us what that's about, but also, man, what do you think about this conversation so far?
No, I like the conversation. And I was thinking about it from the standpoint of some people that I know very closely are they are a combination of the black and brown combination, or coalition, if you will. You know, they got some Hispanic in them, but they're also they're black. And just seeing the way things play out in their family, where the ones that look more Hispanic and that speak Spanish have a chip on their shoulder towards the ones that look black, and especially the ones that look black and don't speak Spanish. So I thought that was interesting. Now, what I did also think was interesting was what the head tilt was sounded like a little bit of cope. And then I realized, all right, maybe he knows something I don't know. With the whole, this is not our original culture. This is what came in with colonialism. And, you know, the Spaniards and all of that. And for me, it was like, okay, so from what I know, and I could be wrong, both of y'all correct me if I'm wrong, you exist because of the Spaniards. Like, it's not like you was there doing your thing and then the Spaniards showed up and gave you a different culture. No, you didn't exist until they showed up.
You mean like Mexican culture?
I mean, like, because he spoke specifically to the Spaniards.
Right.
So I'm thinking he's talking about Hispanic culture in general. Well, so I'm making the distinction between Native Americans
and Hispanic. Yeah,
and Hispanics.
Yeah, so a little context on him. He does get the bull that comes with Latino Hispanic culture. He understands that it's something that was fabricated in the 70s and stuff like that, because I've heard him speak on it. But he's more so talking about the Mexican people who were in the Mexican area when the Spaniards showed up.
So he's talking about the indigenous people.
Yes,
so
the indigenous people.
All right. Okay. So I can vibe with that.
Mm-hmm.
To a point. Because to my knowledge, again, both of y'all correct me if I'm wrong, to my knowledge, and we're not talking to those, look, for all you black folk that say that we was black folk was here, yeah, I disagree with you. All right, we got that out the way. So, to my knowledge, Native Americans didn't really rock with black people like that either.
So going back to what Dr. Clark said, and what Dr. Clark said is true, right? That all groups of people, especially post-colonialism, but all groups of people were not necessary. They didn't do black people well. So now that the specific Mystican culture and their interactions with blacks, I'm not that sure. And I'm talking pre-colonialism. I'm not sure. So I can't really speak on that. And PC may have some information, but I can't really speak on the interactions between like African people and the Mystican cultures outside of what we know about with the Olmecs.
Well, and I'll just say that was the head tilt, because I was like, and then I caught myself and was like, you know what? There's still a lot about Native American culture, indigenous culture that I'm not familiar with. So maybe he knows something I don't. But I am pretty familiar with black people, and I'm pretty familiar with the way black people in America were treated by everybody in America, including the natives and the indigenous people.
Right.
And black people have been looked down on by everybody in America, including the indigenous people. And so that's why I was like, that sounded like a bit of cope with him saying, you know, we know the Spaniards brought this over and they gave this to us. Maybe it was already there. Maybe they enhanced.
Well, tribalism
was already there.
Tribalism was definitely there before.
Right. And so now you see, and that was the other point I was going to transition to, because I'm thinking about it from a tribalism type lens. I don't expect everybody back in those times to be all lovey-dovey. That's something that for the most part was unique to a specific group of people that aren't around anymore. And they aren't around anymore because they got jacked up by being that way.
They were too nice.
So that's what I was thinking.
I get you. But I guess if you want to be technical, Theodore, and that was because we know African people, even black people, slaves had negative interactions or even enslaved by Native Americans. Now, I guess the technical Theodore comes in. Did the Mystican people specifically engage in that behavior as well? And I don't know.
And to that is one of those things where, okay, we're speaking in generalities because we have to, because he's making a general argument. Right. Hispanics, the Brown coalition.
When we're talking about the larger group. Yeah. So in that argument, in the context of that argument, and so that's where it's like, this is why these conversations break down, is because even when you have a well-intentioned person like this young man is, I really do think he's well-intentioned, there's still that refusal to fully accept what's going on, because you can pass it off to the left. Oh, well, we know the Spaniards came in and gave us this. Now, we took it and run with it, but it's not native to me. That gives you an out. That's a whole different argument from saying, no, this is native to you. This is who you are. This is what you do. And the work that you're going to have to do to get out of that space is different. But on the whole, that, like I said, that was the head tilt. On the whole, I think the conversation is a beautiful conversation that I wish more black people would pay attention to, because the BS lie that we tell ourselves, our own cope, that, you know, there's some way that we can work together with all these other people, because we really don't want to be, we're children. We don't want to be out here by ourselves. We don't believe we can do it by ourselves. Right.
So, but with that, I'm gonna land my plane and let PC.
But no, I mean, so because I got to bring you in properly, but that's why we break these things down, though, because getting into the nitty gritty and really peeling back some of the layers and what's going on, because like you're talking about tribal, we've said this, the three of us have talked about this so many times. tribalism is something that's inherent to human beings. If you not one of us, we fighting. That's inherent to human beings, right? So pre-colonial tribalism did exist throughout the world, even in the African continent. All right, African people are no exception, right? Because the tribalism was played upon. But also, two things are true. The pre-colonial tribalism existed, and then the post-colonial racism and racist ideologies that they have toward other people attached on to what was already going on with the pre-colonial tribalism that humans had. So, hey man, before we go any further, make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share. Make sure you get as many people as possible into these conversations, into these breakdowns, so they can listen to what we got going on. And people in the comments, I'm listening to the comments. I'm trying to get to as many as possible, but I do believe I am shadow banned. So if you listen to this, please hit that like button, please share, please make sure your notifications are turned on, because a lot of people are telling me that they're not getting any notifications. So two things they've been telling me: YouTube been tripping and Cashapp been tripping. So I'm calling you out, YouTube, and I'm calling you out, Cashapp, because you ain't finna keep me from my people. But for the YouTube, if you're not getting the notifications, please let me know, because I want to make sure y'all can get this content, because I've been noticing a little shadow banning stuff going on. So, but without further ado, we finna get into this like we do. Y'all get y'all bowls, put your bib around your neck, make sure you got your 14 spoons together, and you better get your drink, and you better get your biscuit, because Professor Carlton Jones is about to cook. Yeah.
Well, you know, I appreciate that.
Hey.
Hope I can live up to it. Before we get into that, I do want to thank early on, because typically we do this at the end of the show, but there are people who are cash apping us, and we appreciate you, looking out for your brothers. So shout out to Miss Cheryl Tate for showing some love. Appreciate you, sister, and we appreciate you all. My sister McKim as well. Our sister McKim, friend of the show. We appreciate all y'all contributions and assistance to the work we're doing. More so than the money, is the appreciation for the acknowledgement that we're doing something that matters. So we thank you, and we thank everybody that tuned in every week. That just your likes, your views, it helps to, as Joe said earlier, to spread the podcast, or spread the channel, and so more people can have access to this wonderful thing that my good brother's putting together here. So, and also, I want to send prayers and well wishes to the family and friends of former television star Danielle Spencer. She recently passed away at the age of 60. I believe she was dealing with the reports are that she was dealing with cancer. And for those of you who don't know who Danielle Spencer is, I could be aging myself, but she was the child star on the television show What's Happening, and also the remake, not the remake, but the spinoff that later on that occurred about a decade later ago, What's Happening Now. And she was her name. Yeah, she was D on the show. So, just, keep the people in thoughts and prayers. She was somebody who had an impact on the culture and the community. And we just, we want to send our condolences to her family and well wishes. So, with that being said, and in regards to what the young man was talking about, it's all I've ever known to be true. If you look at the rebellions and the revolutions that took place in places like Puerto Rico, Cuba, and even the Mexican Civil War, Cinco de Mayo, all those things were attached to that whole concept of the racial disparities that took place. If you were a darker complexion or darker hue, you were seen as in a lower caste. They had caste systems, so you were seen as a lower class of people, and you had less access to the wealth, less access to power, less access to the resources. And so that's why when, him bringing this up, this is not new news to those of us who have studied.
Right.
This whole concept because we get lost, and I think we as Black people want to extend a little bit too much respect to other cultures, so we don't call things what they are. But to be a Latino is not a race. Latinos is a culture, it's a language driven culture. Ethnicity is not a race.
Right.
In the Latino culture, there are these disparities. And there are parts of Mexico that are totally Black, that nobody associates with, affiliates with, specifically on the western coast of Mexico. So you go down to South America, and the distinctions are even there. I mean, Brazil had a larger African population than America. Over 100 million Brazilians were of African descent. They consider themselves to be Afro-Latinos. And that's the distinction. You have to identify as Afro-Latino. Right. And if you look at how anybody's classified, even in America, and when they ask you about if you're Latino, they ask you if you're white Latino or other for the distinction. So that's no secret in terms of what he's talking about. The issue, and I'm not sure, is this a conversation or is this a reaction?
No, this is the conversation. The Black guy is in the conversation, but Ricardo is the one who's talking mostly.
Okay, it's like the brothers in bed. Anyway,
I know,
because he is
wild turkey. Anyway, so, but I mean, if we talk about in that, like Pat said earlier, let's call a thing, right? The Latino culture was birthed from the colonization of the Spaniards.
Yes.
Of the Portuguese.
Get into it,
my brother. I'm saying, like this, your culture is, you don't have prior culture to that. And you can claim, mestizo, you can claim Aztec, you can claim Mayan, you can claim all those things. Okay, that's cool. I respect that, because that is that's the mother who was raped. That's the mother who was sexually assaulted. You are the bastard child of those cultures.